When I decided to DM my first campaign, I thought I had to know everything. Every rule, every monster, every city, every NPC. Every possible choice my players could make, I thought if I prepared enough, nothing would catch me off guard. I was very, very wrong. I thought that it meant that I needed to know every forest encounter, what every role meant, and what every single attack could and would do to a player's body. I thought that I needed to know every rule, every spell, every attack, and all the lore about everything. When I started making it, I overloaded myself with info, and in the worst way. I would start doing one thing, which would lead to another thing, which led to another thing, and I forced myself to hyper-focus on 20 things in a zigzag and learned nothing. I eventually found an app, VVD World Builder, to organize my stuff, and as much as it helped me at first, I could still barely keep my shit together. I started with some basic lore. A civil war that led to people to escape to a new land and start a new country somewhere else. It's pretty cookie cutter. Then I needed a current day conflict, bad guy versus good guy land. During the expansion of this new country, it accidentally unlocked an unknown force that caused a large wasteland of sorts to awaken all kinds of foul creatures and beasts. Then from there I polished it and then decided to make some quests. Or at least I thought I did. Once I had made my quests, I learned to make a plot and add in some twists and make things cool and fun. So I slaved away one night making what I thought was cool. It wasn't, but it felt like it at the time. By cool, I mean I made a shit ton of enemies that were hard to beat and required my players to min-max just to survive. I thought my players would enjoy putting their lives on the line, fighting tooth and nail just to stay alive, and feeling like every choice they made mattered. Eventually, after almost a month straight of slaving away at this campaign, I talked to my friend who DMs another campaign I play. He made his own TTRPG game system that me and my friends love to use and play. For the last week of our freshman year, we decided to do a 10-hour long session. During it, around dinner time when we left for a break, I decided to just ask him, how does he do it? And you know what he told me? I just make it up. Excuse me? You just make it up? Yeah, I just improvise 90% of what we do. Hold on. We're playing a 10-hour session and you are just making it up for 10 hours straight? I was pissed. Not really at him, but just at the fact that it sounded like a master saying that what he does is easy. Now, I didn't believe him at all. Truly, it seemed like improvision was such bullshit for a campaign with a story and plot. I really didn't know what he meant and just brushed it aside and slaved away for another week before my first session. After hearing what he said, it made all the videos I watched basically obsolete. They talked about prep, do this, do that. Meanwhile, I was, and I didn't know if it would work, but I felt like my chances were really good. Eventually, my last week of school ended and I was at a good point in being ready. I had made around 7 quests, which had a loose order to them. I made a few NPCs, I made some backstories for them, wrote a BBEG, got some of the basic info for some of the cities done, and made some game mechanics that I decided not to use, but I still made them because I felt like it. Oh yeah, session 1. After a month of getting things ready, I was finally able to rally the troops and get this started. Now, I will admit I didn't do a session 0. I had no clue what it was. For the past month, I decided to hand out character sheets and let my friends make their characters on their own time. It was finals, and between that and lots of traveling home, I thought it was best to let my players take their own time making them. As soon as we start the session, the monk doesn't even have their base stats done. The artificer has no idea that we are all level 3, and the druid is just struggling. The wizard, rogue, and paladin were all set though. 45 minutes after we were supposed to start, we finally got to it. Cue the 30-minute wait time for people to load into Roll20. And after an hour and 15 minutes, we're finally ready to start. So we start the campaign as all good campaigns start. In a tavern! I explain how they're all in a city looking for work, and they're in this tavern in the military capital of their nation, hanging out with several other adventurers, enjoying the night as most do. Suddenly, the doors to the tavern get kicked in, and a knight with 2 armored guards walk in. The tavern goes silent, and the knight tells the crowd about how the government is requesting the aid of fellow common folk and adventurers to help them in their war. Those ready to fight shall meet them in the town square and be assigned jobs. Suddenly, there is an uproar of screams and excitement. Everyone here has been waiting for something like this. As the place clears out, all that's left is my party. I ask who would like to go first, and the grunge introduces himself. Then the satyr cuts in and introduces herself, and it goes down the line until 5 of the party members are done. The 6th will be introduced later. Now, I will admit, it was messy. Saying, quote, introduce yourselves isn't how you do it. Neither is asking, what'll you do? But we'll get to that later. After that, I blatantly railroad them to the town square, and they get their jobs, and oh my god, it's beautiful. The grunge goes and tries to talk to an NPC. We've done it. I've made it. Baby, roleplay is finally starting. He talks to the guard who gave them their job and asks if he would like a delicious meal he cooked up. The guard says no, he has to go, but my players are starting to break the ice and get into their characters. It's gorgeous. I love it. Now, cut to them traveling. The first thing they encounter on their travels is the 6th player. As they travel down the road, they see 2 figures. A tall man in a dark cloak and a dangerous hound to his right. As they come up to him, he talks about how he is all-powerful and how he is going to destroy them and rule the world. After some light chatting with the grunge, of course, he tries to sick the hound on him. The dog rolls a 2 on his intelligence check, and the tall hooded figure is suddenly revealed to be all but a fairy floating in the air, with a face filled with rage only an ogre could compete with. Eventually, they have a light chat about his sweet little puppy named Wallace. The fairy's name was Pinecone Jellycup, by the way. And they decide he'll join them on their way to do the job. On their way to the city where the job is, they travel through 3 major places. The first one is a small town known for its excessive open land. They often let travelers camp there while doing their jobs. Next, they get to a city that is completely blocked off and surrounded by guards. Again, the grunge does it again. He asks the guard what's going on. It's gorgeous, you know it, you love it, the roleplay is plentiful, the players are getting into it. Wait, what? Why isn't anyone trying to roleplay? Huh? Why is the grunge the only one saying anything? You guys know you can interact with the world, right? Okay? Anyways, he learns some info about the city, and they travel on their way to the village of Oyers, the last checkpoint before you enter the lands beyond, the most dangerous place in the world right now. As they get into the village, I describe to them what could probably, in the most aggressively low-effort, low-tier way you can imagine, and ask, as I thought I should, what would you guys like to do? Nothing. Would you guys like to buy anything? Any supplies? Nothing. No rope, no weapons or armor, no potions. I had just described it as a place with a huge market for items and equipment due to the nature of it being the last checkpoint for people. Their mission is to go to a giant city, scout it out, and give the information back to the government. No one wants to buy anything? After a few moments, the grunge goes, I'll go and see if there's anyone selling potions. So I describe a small dwarf seller who shows him a handful of things, healing potions, some invisibility potions, and whatnot, and he tells them a price. It was really bad, and I didn't really make an economy since I didn't know what that meant for D&D, but eventually they come to a deal, and he gets some potions. They ask some questions that lead to me talking about a large array of tents outside the village and describe as they enter and see rows of men and women in beds. Limbs lost, scars, burns, people in horrible conditions. They go up to a man and heal him a bit, and finally ask him what happened. He talks about how his party was ambushed, and he describes the horror and fear he felt along with the danger of the world they're in. They decide to leave him to rest and go back to the village. Then again, I'm left with, would anyone else like to get or do anything? Nothing. By this point, I'm sweating bullets because why the fuck isn't there anyone talking? I mean, there's 6 people here, and only one of them is trying to do anything.
Eventually,
The wizard says, I'd like to send a letter to my late teacher. I describe a small building at the far end of the village with a sort of mail center. They go inside, they talk to the man, and the player describes how this needs to be sent across the continent. The guy says to them that's going to cost 10 gold, and the player goes, that's outrageous. The NPC describes how this has to go hundreds of miles, and right now things are even more expensive due to the state of the world. And then the wizard gets into a bit of an argument before the grunge, my fucking savior, comes in and asks if the NPC would like a grunge delicacy, a meal consisting of bugs and mushrooms. Yummy? He rolls low on persuasion, and the NPC says, no, ew, that's gross. The wizard calls him a racist. Jesus Christ, how did we get here? He goes, what? No, I'm not. And the wizard goes, yeah, you are. You won't send my letter. We're off the rails. What the fuck? How did we get here? The NPC and the wizard have some back and forth before the grunge goes, could you write and send a letter for me? I can't write, and I would like to send one to my parents. The NPC says, sure, writes it out, tells him the price, and decides that he'll send the wizard's letter for free after feeling bad for the grunge and not wanting to be slandered by this random half-elf wizard. The encounter ends, and the monk asks, hey, can I look for someone who might be part of my same organization? Their background is that they are a satyr who started a freedom organization that is more of an ideal and movement rather than a strict regimented organization. I say, yeah, you can look and see if you recognize anyone in the crowd, and they roll high enough to find one person. They find a female elf ranger who they talk to for a bit and decides, you know what, I'm going to come with them on their journey the next day. Once again, my savior, the grunge, comes in and roleplays. By this point, it's been somehow like 2.5 hours. The artificier is passed out with their camera off, and the druid left not long before we ended, and the session just started to fizzle out. We eventually decided to stop before doing anything big for the night. It was a mess. It was awful. Nothing went the way I thought it would. I thought the reason my friend's campaign worked was he let us decide what we wanted to do. He would give us the world, and we would decide how to interact with it. But it genuinely wasn't that simple. I realized he never just said, hey, here's a room, what do you do? He described the room, he described the situation, then he'd ask if we would like to do X, Y, or Z. Not because those were our only options, but because he wanted to get our brains turning. He wanted to give us ideas and show us what was possible. He also didn't railroad the way I did. He railroaded after we made our choices. We made a choice, he described what happened. I made a choice, and then I described what happened. Those are two completely different things. And the prepping and planning didn't mean fuck all. I had almost 20 different things prepped, and none of them mattered because none of it happened. The guards talking to my grunge? Didn't plan that. The elf ranger my monk talked to, she was supposed to be an NPC for later. The medical tents and the stories that were told, made them up on the spot. The mailroom, complete BS. The dwarf vendor, not only was he completely fucking fabricated, but I also didn't realize I hadn't made a fucking economy and had no idea what to charge for anything. It was really bad, and as much as I prepared, it still wasn't enough. I've only run 5 sessions now, and I think I've used maybe 5% of what I prepped 2 months ago. The other 95%, I've made it up as we played. Only after I made it up did I refine it. I made maps, cities, stat blocks, artwork, and even wrote some of the lore constantly because I liked one idea more than the other. I love homebrewing and making my own things to throw at my players and have fun with. The game of D&D is truly unlike anything else. Your players' minds are something you simply cannot prepare for. Even if they're your best friends, they'll always surprise you. You can spend weeks trying to predict what they'll do, and they'll spend 5 minutes proving you wrong. I think that there are only 2 skills you really need to have to learn as a DM. Guiding and improvising. Everything else comes later. You don't need a world built down to the exact population of every city. You just need enough of the world that your players have something to grab onto and somewhere to go. Descriptions, drama, voices, role playing, making your players care about the world, those come second. Because if you can't guide your players and adapt to the ridiculous things they come up with, none of the other stuff matters. No one cares how beautiful a room is if they have no idea what they can actually do in it. And no one wants to interact with a world that never tries to interact with them. Oh, and remember the quote I said? I just made it up? He wasn't full of shit.